It all started during a heated congressional hearing where tensions were already high, but no one expected what would happen between rising Republican star Karoline Leavitt and Democratic firebrand Jasmine Crockett. The two had already exchanged sharp words in previous sessions, but today's encounter escalated beyond anything anyone anticipated. As the cameras rolled and the room buzzed with murmurs, Karoline calmly waited her turn. Jasmine, known for her fierce rhetoric and no-nonsense tone, had just delivered a lengthy defense of her party's latest policy push. Leavitt sat quietly, her eyes fixed, her demeanor unshaken, as though she had something brewing. When Karoline was finally recognized by the chair, the air in the chamber changed. She began her statement with a composed tone, but her words were sharp as a blade. At first, it seemed like she was just rebutting Jasmine's arguments, countering point by point with a mix of statistics and dry sarcasm. But then, after a pause that seemed to last forever, she looked directly at Jasmine and said, "If shouting slogans was a substitute for logic, you might have had a career worth defending." Gasps echoed through the room. The phrase landed with the force of a gavel, and even seasoned lawmakers were stunned. The silence that followed was deafening. Jasmine looked blindsided, her usual fiery posture visibly shaken. Some members tried to interject, while others were frozen in place. Karoline sat back in her seat, hands folded, unmoved by the chaos her sentence had unleashed. It wasn't just a personal job up, it was a strategic dismantling of Crockett's entire approach. Political analysts would later describe it as the line that shook the hill, while clips of the moment began spreading like wildfire across social media. For Karoline, it was a masterstroke. For Jasmine, it was a direct hit that left her scrambling for composure. Back online, the reactions were explosive. Hashtags like #career-ended and #Leavitt versus Crockett trended for hours. Conservative commentators hailed Karoline as a fearless truth-teller, someone who refused to be intimidated by volume or theatrics. Memes surfaced almost immediately, showcasing the moment Jasmine's expression shifted from smug to stunned. On the other side, progressive circles tried to rally around Crockett, calling Leavitt's remark unnecessarily personal. Still, even Crockett's supporters struggled to deny the rhetorical impact of that sentence. It wasn't just the insult, it was how Karoline timed it, how prepared she was, and how calm she remained through it all. The media jumped in instantly. Conservative outlets ran headlines declaring Leavitt the new queen of clapbacks, while liberal publications scrambled to frame the exchange as unprofessional mudslinging. Yet, what stood out in every report was the precision of Karoline's language. It wasn't a rant, a slip, or an emotional outburst. It was deliberate. In one clean shot, she had summarized the widespread criticism of Jasmine, style over substance, and by doing it publicly, with cameras rolling and colleagues watching, she put the spotlight on a dynamic many had whispered about but hadn't dared to say aloud in such direct terms. Jasmine Crockett attempted damage control in the hours that followed. She tweeted, "When they can't match your fire, they resort to insults," but the tweet didn't land the way she intended. Replies flooded in, with many pointing out that fire without direction is just smoke. Several followers even replied with Leavitt's quote, reminding Jasmine that it wasn't just an insult, it was a diagnosis. Late-night talk shows picked up the clip. Even comedians couldn't resist reenacting the moment. Saturday Night Live opened with a sketch mimicking the exchange, and once comedy gets involved, the situation is already etched into pop culture history. Behind closed doors, Capitol Hill insiders reported that Jasmine was furious. According to one aide, she felt blindsided and betrayed by fellow Democrats who didn't step in more aggressively to defend her. Meanwhile, Leavitt was reportedly congratulated by several senior GOP members for her surgical delivery. Even those who didn't agree with her politics couldn't help but admire the finesse. She turned a 5-minute rebuttal into a career-defining moment, one strategist commented. The buzz wasn't just about the clash-up, it was about how one sentence had done what hours of debate and grandstanding often failed to achieve. The fallout continued the next day when a major political roundtable invited both representatives to appear for a joint interview. Jasmine declined, citing scheduling conflicts, while Karoline appeared solo, reiterating her point with unshaken confidence. "Respect is earned through clarity, not volume," she said. The host tried to stir controversy, but Leavitt stayed measured, refusing to gloat. That only made her words resonate more. Political commentators across the spectrum noted how rare it was for a young politician to stay composed after delivering such a viral moment. "She understands the power of restraint," said one former White House advisor. As the dust settled, fundraising emails began circulating. Karoline's team sent out a message titled "One Sentence, One Truth," using the viral moment to rally support. The donations poured in, confirming that the exchange had only boosted her standing. On the flip side, Crockett's campaign struggled to regain its footing. Internally, her advisors debated whether to confront the issue head-on or let it fade. The problem was it wasn't fading. Every new appearance, every speech Jasmine made was met with questions about that moment. It became the shadow trailing her, a reminder of how quickly perception can shift in modern politics. Political analysts started revisiting Jasmine's past appearances, reevaluating her record and communication style. While she had a strong base, some began noticing a pattern of emotional responses and deflections. The Leavitt incident seemed to pull the curtain back. Was Jasmine truly an emerging leader? Or had she been coasting on style and sound bites? Articles titled "The Crockett Conundrum" began appearing in political blogs and mainstream media alike. Even among Democrats, quiet conversations started brewing about whether she could weather future debates if her opponents used similar strategies. Karoline hadn't just won an argument, as she had sparked a narrative shift. Meanwhile, Karoline's star continued to rise. She received invitations to high-profile events, podcasts, and political panels. Her team framed her as a voice for the silent majority, someone unafraid to speak uncomfortable truths. Conservative influencers amplified her message, and even centrists admitted that her delivery, while cutting, was rooted in a deeper critique of performative politics. This wasn't just about dunking on a political opponent, it was about changing the game. Karoline began to represent a growing frustration with theatrics and politics. The power of one sentence, when crafted with intent and delivered with precision, had never been more evident. In the weeks that followed, Jasmine's public presence diminished. While she still made appearances, they were more controlled, more rehearsed. The spontaneity that once defined her seemed replaced by cautiousness, and that, in itself, was proof of the impact Karoline had. One sentence had forced a recalibration. Allies urged her to fight back harder, but Crockett knew she had to choose her battles. Every comeback risked reigniting the flame Karoline had lit. And in politics, silence can sometimes speak louder than rage. Whether intentionally or not, Jasmine's quieter tone only affirmed that she had felt the blow deeply. By the end of the congressional session, the legacy of that moment was already being written. Newcomers to politics were being told to watch the clip, and not just for what was said, but how it was said. Political science professors began analyzing it in media literacy classes. Karoline's sentence joined the ranks of historic debate takedowns, quoted in think pieces and campaign training manuals alike. Jasmine, though still active, was no longer seen as untouchable. The balance had shifted, and in the era of viral moments, all it took was one line to change the narrative forever. In politics, careers aren't always ended by scandals or investigations. Sometimes, it's a single sentence that slices through the noise and reveals a deeper truth. Karoline Leavitt's moment wasn't just about humiliating an opponent, it was about capturing frustration, discontent, and a craving for clarity in an age of spin. Whether you support her or not, that sentence has now become a marker in political history, a reminder that words still hold power. And as Jasmine Crockett tries to rebuild her narrative, she will always be walking in the shadow of that moment where one sentence echoed louder than 1,000 speeches.